channel. Today, I have a story for you that's different. It's not a theory, it's not a legend, it's the absolute truth of what happened to us one summer night. We were just three friends, having a typical sleepover, when curiosity got the better of us and we decided to try a Ouija board. What we encountered wasn't a game, it was something real, something terrifying. Get ready to hear our true Ouija board nightmare. The night was dim, the kind of darkness that felt thick and enveloping, just the way we liked it. In the flickering glow of string lights, we settled into the cozy haven of my living room, armed with popcorn, energy drinks, and the unyielding excitement that comes from knowing our summer adventure was coming to a close. We were 3 years into our friendship, and the end of the summer before we headed back to college felt heavy on our hearts. So, we decided to hold one last sleepover, a tradition that often ended with our secrets whispered under the covers and laughter that filled the walls until they echoed our joy. Seated on the floor, surrounded by cushions and blankets, Mara initiated the suggestion that had been lurking at the back of our minds. Let's use the Ouija board. I cocked an eyebrow, glancing at Julie, who seemed hesitant. She was always the cautious one, preferring comfort over the thrill of the unknown. Are you sure about that? Isn't that a bit cliché? But Mara's sparkly eyes glimmered with mischief. Come on, it'll be fun. What's the worst that could happen? Before Julie could protest, Mara had already retrieved the old Ouija board from the shelf where it gathered dust, and the moment it hit the floor, I felt an absurd thrill coursing through my veins. With each piece meticulously arranged, the air crackled with an energy that was distinctly foreign. Our fingertips brushed over the planchette, and we stared at one another, excitement and trepidation mingling together. Who should we summon? Julie eventually asked, glancing nervously at the board. How about someone famous? Mara suggested. What about Manuel? I was momentarily thrown. Manuel, the tragic poet who had captivated our imaginations since high school, had ended his own life. The way he wrote about love twisted so beautifully with despair fascinated us. You mean, the one who died so young? I asked, a shiver running down my spine. Yes. Let's call for him, Mara insisted. We hesitated, glancing at one another, and then closed our eyes, each mentally repeating a small prayer to keep things light. Chanting softly, we invited Manuel's presence, circling the planchette slowly upon the letters. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. It became colder, as if someone had opened a door to an icy realm. The planchette began to move, slow and deliberate, and we gasped. I was the first to look down at the board. Are you there? I whispered. The planchette slid over the letters, spelling out a simple yes, yes. My heart raced as I glanced at my friends, their expressions were mingled awe and fear. Can you tell us your name? Julie asked, her voice shaking. Youknow, you know, it spelled out again. The board began to spell again, but this time the letters formed into a date of an upcoming weekend. A date? Mara said, her eyes bulging as she nudged the board forward. What does it mean? Let's go there. Can we meet you? Julie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. YESMEETATTHESCARLETMovieTheater. Yes. Meet at the Scarlet Movie Theater. Mara clapped her hands, the fear shaking off her shoulders. I stared, entranced, while Julie's expression spoke of concern masked by curiosity. What will you be wearing to identify you? I asked nervously, hoping for something normal, something I could grasp. The planchette skimmed across the board again, awkwardly coming to rest over the letters. REDCARNATION, red carnation. Simple words that left a hollow echo in my chest. Why a red carnation? Why not something else? But the thrill persisted, and soon enough, we couldn't help but agree to the rendezvous. The night of the meetup came draped in a heavy cloak of anticipation. With oversized hoodies bunched around our thin frames, we made our way down the streets toward the old movie theater. It stood like a ghost from the past, the neon lights casting a ghastly glow against its peeling exterior. The smell of popcorn and vintage film lingered in the air, mingling with a sense of nostalgia that felt almost too powerful. As we reached the box office, the chill in the air deepened. Our heartbeats echoed in our ears while I turned to share a nervous joke, but Mara's expression halted my words. She pointed at the glass doors of the theater. There, framed by faded advertisements, stood a tall figure clad in a dark suit. My stomach dropped. The man, he was watching us. The red carnation pinned on his lapel shimmered like a beacon reaching through the swirling darkness around him. Hey, what time is the next showing? I muttered, trying to sound normal, but my voice cracked under the weight of dread. Looking to my friends, I could see the pallor spreading across their faces. Julie's eyes widened, and Mara took a step back. Is that him? Julie whispered, her voice tense. Before we could reply, the man pressed his palm against the glass, his expression inscrutable. Then he smiled, but his eyes, oh God, those eyes, weren't mere reflections. They held a kind of emptiness, a darkness so profound that it felt like it could consume us whole. Frozen in terror, we stared at the figure behind the glass. His smile stretched unnaturally, and the emptiness in his eyes seemed to bore right through us. Without a word, a silent understanding passed between Mara, Julie, and me. The thrill of the unknown had curdled into a primal fear, a certainty that we had stumbled into something truly sinister. As if a silent alarm had gone off, we all three turned as one and bolted. Our sneakers pounded against the cracked pavement, the only sound louder than the frantic thumping of our hearts. We didn't dare look back, didn't dare break the invisible thread of shared terror that propelled us forward. The image of the man, his vacant eyes and the stark red carnation, was burned into our minds. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs ached, not stopping until we busted through my front door, gasping for breath in the familiar safety of my living room. The string lights, once cozy, now seemed to mock our earlier lightheartedness. What was that? Julie choked out, her face pale and streaked with tears. Mara, equally shaken, could only manage a shudder. I don't know. But we have to get rid of it. Her gaze fell upon the Ouija board, still lying on the floor where they had used it just the night before. It now seemed less like a harmless game and more like a malevolent artifact. Without a word, I grabbed the board. The cheap cardboard felt flimsy and insignificant in my trembling hands, yet it had somehow opened a door to something terrifying. Julie snatched it from me, her fear giving her a sudden burst of strength. She marched into the kitchen, her eyes blazing with a newfound resolve. Mara and I followed close behind. They didn't hesitate. Julie raised the Ouija board above the trash can, and with a guttural cry, ripped it in half. The cardboard tore easily, the letters and numbers splitting apart like broken promises. Mara joined in, tearing at the pieces with a ferocity born of pure fright. They ripped and shredded until the board was nothing but a pile of useless fragments. Once the last piece was torn, a heavy silence fell over the kitchen. The adrenaline began to recede, leaving behind a chilling sense of unease. They had destroyed the physical object, but the memory of the man at the theater, the cold dread that had gripped them, lingered in the air. Huddled together, we knew that our summer adventure had reached an unexpected and terrifying conclusion. The laughter and whispered secrets would now be replaced by hushed recounts of the night we almost met something we couldn't understand, the night we were so scared, we destroyed the Ouija board and vowed never to speak of it again. The carefree days of summer were truly over, replaced by a lingering shadow of the unknown. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. So, that was our Ouija board story, and yeah, it was definitely more nightmare than fun and games. Looking back, it's easy to say we were just being naive college students looking for a thrill. But in that moment, with the planchette moving and spelling out those eerie messages, it felt so real. The encounter at the movie theater, that image is still burned in my mind. The man, the red carnation, those eyes, it was like something out of a horror movie, except we were living it. It was a stark reminder that sometimes, the things we treat as games might tap into something we don't understand and definitely can't control. Our reaction, tearing up that Ouija board like it was the source of all evil, might seem extreme. But in that moment, it felt like the only thing we could do to regain some sense of safety and control. We were so shaken, so genuinely terrified, that destroying it felt like the only way to close that door we had unknowingly opened. This experience definitely marked the end of our carefree summer. It was a harsh lesson learned about the potential consequences of dabbling in things we don't fully grasp. Thanks for watching, and maybe, just maybe, think twice before pulling out that old board. Hey, horror fans! If you enjoyed our chilling tale and want to keep the spine-tingling stories coming, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support keeps the darkness alive. Share this video with your friends, let's spread the fear together. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a hair-raising moment. Join our community of thrill seekers and prepare for more eerie adventures. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay scared.